Hello. I'm
What's
so
up?
excited. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first episode of Happiness Buffet. If you've never heard about this concept, I will explain it to you. So basically, you know how for different people, the happiness tools can work very differently for them. Just like when you are going to a buffet, there are different type of dishes that you may like, I don't know, Chinese food, Japanese food, Korean, or some people are vegetarian, blah, blah, blah. It's the same concept, right? So for our podcast, our goal is to provide you a buffet with world cuisine as much as we can so that you can pick your favorite dishes. And just don't worry if you feel you're overwhelmed about all the dishes because you also shouldn't overeat. So just pick and choose, mix and match to see what works for you. So every time we will have a happy chef. Callan, maybe I'll invite you multiple times actually, because I know you have so much to offer in this happiness dishes territory. So every time we'll have a chef to craft their dishes for you to try to see if you like it to add to the buffet. And also every month for the first Thursday of every month, I will also share my buffet with you. I'll post a video on YouTube. But here in our podcast, we want to hear what our other chefs can share with you all. So, all right, welcome, Happy Chef, our very first Happy Chef, Callan.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Ishui. I do love to cook, so I'm excited to see what we can make tonight.
Yes, I'm excited. So, as always, because both Callan and I benefited so much from meditation, so we like to start with a meditation just to set our intention and calm ourselves to have our intention to reach the audience, whoever attracted to the information, to benefit from our podcast. And we encourage you to do a meditation together with us to set your intention for this podcast. As I said, for example, you can think about, let me hear what I need to hear. And if you miss something, maybe you're just not interested. That's not your dish, and it's fine. You don't need to rewind of the podcast even. So just chill. It's a very chill podcast. Just don't worry. So, all right.
Yeah, I think we could do a meditation together, and it could be the simplest possible meditation.
Okay.
I feel like that's a good place to start, and maybe we could guide it together. But my idea for this meditation was that all we do is we just smile.
Okay. I suggest for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think for 5 minutes. And there's different ways you can go about doing this. There's different traditions, there's different styles, and there's a lot.
Uh-huh.
This can go quite deep and very advanced, as you know. But I
Deep
think just
smile.
yeah, deep smile. I mean, you can smile for up to 7 days, apparently, is what
Oh
some
my
people say.
God. Oh, did you tell me there's like a laughing yoga or something?
Laughing yoga is pretty fantastic as well. And I've done this with friends, and it's a blast. And it really
Oh,
lightens your heart.
wow.
But I think the best way to get into meditation is the opposite way that maybe many people get into meditation, where they, you know, get really serious, tight, straight up, really tight lips, closed, squeezing, maybe sitting a certain way, and they're very worried about how they're doing everything. I think
Yeah.
the perfect counter or antidote to that is to just relax, get comfortable in whatever position feels good for you, even if you want to lie down, and
Yeah.
just smile. And you can smile. You can take this however deep you'd like or however simple you'd like. You could just sit there and smile, or you could smile and scan through your entire body. Like, just relax, smile to your
Mm.
brain, smile to your eyes, smile to all of your organs. It's actually this beautiful mental quality, and it feels really good in your body. So we could give it a shot. It might be fun.
Yeah, I'm already smiling. I'm already in it. Yeah, why don't
Let's
we
try.
start? Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
let's try it
smiling
out. Why
is
don't
sorry, go ahead.
I mean, the smiling is how we're going to let go of taking things seriously, and it's
Yeah.
also a very loving gesture to yourself, and
Yeah.
it's also just a reminder to stay lighthearted and to have fun in life.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome. I love it.
I remember one of our teachers said that I cut my finger earlier when I was cutting some cheese
Mm.
on a cutting board, and the instinct when you cut yourself is to go, and like kind of get
Yeah.
mad and like be like, I can't believe I did that. Like, dang it. But he had said, what happens if you, like, in his case, what happens if you stub your toe, but you smile at it or you send
Hmm.
love to it? That's a very counterintuitive reaction, but I actually think there's a lot to it. And perhaps you could get into the scientific aspect of it, which is that maybe you're sending dopamine, you're sending the right types of neurotransmitters at that moment that might be
Mm.
conducive to healing. If not, if not that, then at least you're going to feel better about it, and you'll be reconditioning a pattern of behavior that otherwise is a little bit uncomfortable to have.
Yeah.
So this is the same idea, and we're bringing it to meditation. It's just about smiling, relaxing, having fun.
That's great. That's a very good point. You already offered your first dish. I really like it because I mean, if you cut your fingers, what can you do? If you do, it's not gonna get better, but smiling, sending it some love, it can maybe help you to heal even, right?
Totally. And I think it's a metaphor for life as well. Like, we tend to get aggravated unnecessarily because it's a habitual tendency that we've developed, perhaps unconsciously, perhaps from observing
Yeah,
parents or family or friends. But
yeah,
imagine if when, if something bad happens, if your first reaction is to smile at it and or to laugh rather than to get so angry, agitated, and upset. Over the long run, that's going to be very good for your immune system and your longevity to not be constantly spiking your cortisol.
yeah,
So this has a lot of
yeah.
practical applications.
And you rewire your neural pathways. Like for the listeners who don't know, I highly encourage you to look up neuroplasticity. Basically, you can really rewire your brain to change your habits to better habits that serve you to be whatever, like happier or positive and things like that. You know, I'm just so
Yeah,
excited about even smile. We can talk for so long like you say it's to smile if you cut yourself, right? But this maybe some traditions or some people in certain cultures, they might actually do that. That's a normal reaction. It's possible because when we cut ourselves, because I grew up in China, the sound I make is actually different from the sound you make, right? I would never say "ow, ouch" or whatever, and maybe I'm like "ee" or "ah," whatever. Even the sound we make when we cut ourselves have habitual tendency in culture, in society, because we hear that in the environment we grew up in. And that has nothing to do with us. We just picked it up as a habit. But there could be in some corner of the world, they're always like, yeah, I don't know. When they cut themselves, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm sending some
immediately.
love.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
drop everything and you start loving yourself when you cut
Yeah.
yourself or when you stub your toe. Could you imagine? I mean,
Yeah.
there's no actual reason why we should be getting upset when we hurt ourselves. That seems kind of silly, right?
Yeah. That's the
Could
opposite.
it's the opposite of what you really would think you'd need in that moment. And it's very interesting. This is just this like
That's
collective
so
behavior that we've all been repeating.
interesting. It's so interesting because you cut yourself unintentionally. Say if a kid does something unintentionally, but they hurt themselves, we will immediately want to love them and say it's okay. Let's just not do it again. But the same concept for us. Why are we so hard on ourselves? That I should
I
have
think,
done that. I should be more careful. I'm clumsy.
yeah, I
No
mean,
reason.
you're touching on something quite profound. And I think that that's actually at the core of the happiness buffet in a lot of ways, which is, there's
Yes.
many ways of looking at this, but I think we need to become more loving to ourselves and we need to kind of be how we would if we looked at ourselves like little children. We would be supportive, we
Yeah.
would be our number one fans, we'd uplift ourselves. But
Yeah.
instead we are often our biggest enemies, critics, and judges. And
Yeah.
so I think this is an interesting angle, actually. And
Yeah.
this goes really deep too, because these habitual tendencies, you unintentionally cut yourself and then you follow it up by unintentionally getting upset and this just shows you the impersonal nature of the mind and of the
Yeah.
personality. These are
Yeah.
oftentimes we're just living out learned behaviors. Something happens, a sense gate, let's say, at our eye, ear, nose, at the feeling of touch, something happens, something arises, and then a behavior then follows that of I always do this when I sense this. When I cut my
Yeah.
finger, I always scream at it and get mad.
Yeah.
That's not something that you're intentionally doing. This is a learned behavior over the course of a lifetime. And just
Yeah.
as easily as it was learned, it can also be unwound and changed. And the way I see the happiness buffet is that, largely what we're trying to do is go from a sympathetic state, a stressed, high cortisol state where we are easily agitated, where we easily spike cortisol, to more of a parasympathetic dominance where we're trying to
Mm.
be more in a relaxed, easeful, smiling, happy, fun
Playful.
state, playful. And I think
Yeah.
this is a metaphor for meditation as well. I think certainly the way I started meditation was getting really stressed and bothered and upset about the way I was practicing. And every time I got distracted, getting all worked up. And I
Yeah.
think it's so counterintuitive because I was probably getting more stressed from meditation than when I was just hanging out. It was actually worse for me at first. And only through, trial and error and trial by fire of making all the possible mistakes, you come around in a long way to find out how important it is to just have fun with all this stuff.
Yeah. How was that moment? Because I had the same phase, and one day my like epiphany was, wait a minute, I started this meditation journey to be happy. But now I'm beating myself up because of meditation. This is such an irony. I should not do that at all. Because then what's the point of me going to retreats and meditating, right? Because at the end of the day, my goal was to be happy. Why do I do something that I thought is gonna make me happy, but it's gonna make me unhappy when I'm like not progressing in the way I wanted? At that moment, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Then, like when I gave up on meditation, is when my meditation can go so much deeper. It's so many irony in this life. It's so interesting.
It's very interesting. And I mean, I like to call it the serious itis because it's a very sneaky disease and it
Yeah.
finds its way into everything that you do if you're not careful. And, even when we were practicing meditation where the literal instructions are to not take it seriously, many people then take it seriously in a roundabout way. It sneaks in. So
Yeah.
maybe when you're sitting, you'll remember to be lighthearted and you'll have a good time. But maybe
Yeah.
you'll say, well, I need to sit this much every day. And if I don't, then I'm going to get upset about it or I'm going to lose my progress. And you're hard on
Yeah.
yourself. And so that's a different
Yeah.
way that it's arising.
Yeah, that's why this practice we're gonna do, smiling, is actually quite profound practice, right? It's so much more than it sounds like. That's why Banti Vimala Ramsey, that's the retreat center Dhammasukha in Missouri that Callan and I met. Yeah, we sat at the same table with you and your dad. That's where we met. And the teacher there, Banti Vimala Ramsey, he says, if you don't smile at the retreat, I'm gonna tickle you with a feather. So he jokes a lot, and especially you don't think a monk would do something like that, but he jokes a lot, and that really makes the atmosphere really light and fun. Then the meditation tends to be a lot easier to do. Yeah.
The interesting thing about that teacher was that I've never had anybody that scared me so much into smiling that I just never stopped smiling. And so only through being terrified for him catching me not smiling, I did it the whole 7 days. And I found the profundity of what that does when you actually, I mean, he made a good point. Like, how many people will actually hear the instructions to smile all day and actually do it? It is so
Yeah.
rare. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
they'll do it for the first 5 minutes of hearing that, and then they think about something else, they get distracted, and then the smile is gone. And then you get like maybe 3 hours later, you remember, oh yeah, I'm supposed to smile today. But how many people will actually keep that going constantly all day? It's a profound
Yeah.
practice and it's really
Yeah.
powerful. I mean, I remember coming home from just doing the smiling and, of course, some meditation techniques that we were introduced as well. But the smiling alone, I would love to participate in a study or some research because I can say that it felt like I was on drugs all the time just from
And
having my
it's
lips turned
free.
up. And it's free. I didn't have to pay a thing other
Yeah.
than my attention.
Yeah. And that's where you can fake it until you make it, right?
Totally. This is the
Yeah.
fake it till you make it approach. It really works. I mean, there's the studies on the people with the Botox, with the pencil in their mouth, just
Oh,
having the lips turned up in and of itself does negotiate a release of dopamine. So
yeah.
there's something going on. And I would submit that perhaps the your tonic levels of dopamine, so your baseline dopamine levels increase the more you are able to smile throughout your day.
Yeah.
That's my
Why don't
hypothesis.
we
We'll have to
why
research
don't we
this.
try it? See it
Let's
for
give it a shot.
yourself. This is the whole thing about happiness buffet. There's no pressure. Just see it for yourself. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Just like some people doesn't want to eat mushrooms. And it's fine. You don't have to, right? Just pick your dishes. Now we're just offering one single dish. See if you like it. Let's give it a shot.
Let's do it.
So if you are driving, for listeners, please don't close your eyes. That's the only thing we ask you, but you can still smile while if you're in traffic. Actually, that would be a nice thing to do because our tendency is we hate traffic. But if you're smiling, if you're enjoying the moment, what is the problem of traffic? You know? So, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
a fun
It's
exercise if you're actually driving.
the benefit of this practice is it can be done with eyes open or closed or in any possible situation. And
Yeah,
it also is about cultivating just an attitude of a lighthearted mind. So not only can
yeah,
you smile at parts of your body or smile throughout your entire body as a means of relaxing and getting into a very parasympathetic state, but it can also be, that you smile into traffic or you smile into your boss yelling at you or you smile at any of
yeah,
life's challenges. It's almost like smoothing out the rough edges of your life. That's what smiling does.
yeah. And it rewires your brain at the same time. So why not?
It's
Cool.
incredible.
Yeah. Okay, master, lead the way. Do you want me to set a timer or how do you want to do it?
Well, why don't we just do maybe a couple of minutes? And what we'll do today is we'll just do something very simple. We'll just
Okay.
smile and relax, and we'll just work our way, starting at the top of the head. We'll just
Okay.
smile from the top of our head. We'll feel, so we're smiling and we're feeling into our body. So we're kind of placing our attention in something rooted in reality, something that's happening right now.
Okay.
So I think a good way to do this is just to bring your attention to the top of your head
Mm-hmm.
and smile at your scalp. You can smile into your brain, the left side and the right side of the brain. Smile to your eyes and your nose. You smile to your ears and your face, through your neck and throat. You can smile to your traps and shoulders, your upper arms and forearms. Smile to your hands. And then at the top of the torso, you can smile to your heart, your lungs, all of the internal organs, your liver, stomach, your intestines and kidneys. Smile to your legs, knees, calves, and your feet all the way down to the floor. And then just relax and smile into your whole body. Feel your entire body and give it a smile. And as you come back, just feel your whole body and feel your mind. Feel what that's done for you and smile.
That was
Bring it throughout your
great.
whole day. I mean, from here, you can take this with you everywhere you go. And
Yeah.
it's perhaps it's silly, perhaps it's simple, but it's surprisingly profound and powerful. And as you and I have come to find, even on the deep end of meditation of what's possible, it's always the simplest things that are the most profound and powerful. So I
Yes.
think this is the great foundation that you can build all of your practices with. This is like the tables that the happiness buffet is set on.
Yes. This is great. I just want to chill here now. This
And
automatic, hmm?
I think it's quite healing for your body too.
Yes.
People practice this in various traditions. You and I did this in let's say we did it at Buddhist meditation retreats, but this is also a Taoist practice. A lot of qigong involves
Oh,
smiling. So, of course, there's yogic smiling and laughter as well. And the bottom line is that smiling crosses all traditions and techniques, and it's both scientific and even spiritual, if you'd like. And so
yeah.
it can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. I feel it automatically triggers gratitude as well. Because, when I was talking and not smelling into my body, I wasn't aware of my whole body. But during the exercise, I felt a lot of love towards my toes because I did a big hike on Sunday 2 days ago, and my big toe actually hurts quite a bit. But when we are talking, I just don't even feel that. I'm not aware of my body, but smiling automatically brings me back to the present moment, and appreciation and gratitude towards my body even shows where I really appreciate how I hiked all day towards all the Rag Trail in Shenandoah National Park. It was quite difficult. You had to use your hands
Oh, wow.
sometimes. I think that part is called the scramble. But anyway, so I'm just so grateful that my whole body took that challenge and did the whole trail. So yeah, it's so nice, and that might be at the moment my body needed some extra care for my toes, right? They did such a great job.
It's amazing. I remember one of our teachers, Bante Maramji, did talk about when he stubbed his toe and he actually broke his toe when he was walking
Oh,
through the forest. And by, in his experience from smiling into it, he said that it healed quicker. And so, that's really
oh,
interesting. Obviously, we don't know how that works or if that works at all.
yeah,
But whether it heals quicker or not, you'll have a happier attitude about what's going on versus a reflexively angry attitude. Who
yeah,
wouldn't you rather have a happy reflex than an angry reflex? I think,
yeah,
especially if the situation, calls for it. Let's say like it doesn't, when you hurt yourself, it doesn't call for being angry. And yet that's what we do.
yeah.
So it's very interesting.
I just had a brilliant idea. So, the whole happiness buffet is, or mental health, however you want to call it, is easier said than done. So, I just had a brilliant idea of a daily challenge. Like, whenever you catch yourself's habitual tendency reaction of something like cutting yourself or stub your toe or whatever, or traffic or waiting in line for the cashier, sometimes you want to just grab your phone, or you will say shit or whatever your tendency is. If you catch yourself, oh, this is my habit and it's caused by because my parents do this or because society does this or whatever it is, right? But I choose to smile into it this time. Then you get a bonus points. So that you could make all of these mini games in your day, Because this is just a really fun and playful way to help us utilize the happiness tools that we learn. Because it's really easier said than done. It's more about doing it. It's not about listening to it. So if the game seems fun for you, I encourage our listeners to try it out and leave a comment and let us know how that goes for you. And we'll see. Maybe we'll have a leaderboard to how many points you get, because that's why I love to do things like this in a group, or that's why we like to talk with each other, because then you share some situations you caught yourself, but humans are not that unique. Then I realize, oh yeah, I do that too in that situation, but I did not catch myself. Then I learn from you, then I can make that my game as well. Eventually maybe 24/7 we are just so happy and smiling, whatever, or in peace, right?
I absolutely think it's possible. And this brings us to, another important component of a happiness buffet, which maybe we'll get into later, which is mindfulness. And
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness really meaning, let's say, to remember, and it's to
Yeah,
remember what's going on right now, to remember to pay attention to what's going on
yeah,
in the moment. And I think by having that, bringing the awareness to your day to smile into something that you otherwise maybe would be upset about, this is a great way to exercise mindfulness. And that's a skill and a reflex that you'll build over time
yeah,
if you start to practice meditation.
yeah, totally. That's the foundation, because if you're not mindful or aware, you cannot catch yourself. So you cannot win your point. You smile because you didn't catch yourself. You're just in autopilot to do what you always do, running your default program, in your brain, right? The code just goes on and on, but you can rewrite your code. It's dynamically update your source code to change it to smile. So that would be fun. I
I
would
love it.
certainly try it. All right, so that's two dishes you already offered, right? One is smile, another is mindfulness. So I think I want to also go back to the very beginning to give us more about your background. I noticed we never do introduction because, I like to just go with the flow. Also, I feel
Sure.
sometimes when we start with the introduction, people would already have a picture of this person and whether this person is credible or not. Or is this person a scientist or a PhD? Which, but I have a PhD, but I don't like to say that because people suddenly want to listen to me. I don't know if they should listen to me. It's just so many concepts around this person, but can we just listen as it is and just see if it works for you? So I intentionally didn't want to have an introduction in the beginning. So we just offer the dish. Here's your dishes. Just to see if you like it, right? But for the context, I do want to go back to your beginning, because now you and I both know how much meditation helped us, but there are so many people who cannot meditate, right? So we really want to make this beginner friendly. So in the very, very beginning, maybe baby Callan, I don't know how beginning you want to, how much earlier you want to go, but how would you think your happiness levels evolve over the course of, I'm not going to reveal your age, over the course of your current life? And also, like, what type of practical tools you utilize to make yourself happier? And then I know one turning point is meditation, but before you have profound impact on yourself, how did that process, like really before your profound experience, how did that progress go? What conditions were there that made you have those breakthroughs? That's a lot of questions. I'm
That's
sorry. Just
no,
talk
that's a
about whatever you want to talk about.
this will be a lot of fun. Let's see what we can get into here. I think first off, I'm not credible, so don't listen to anything I have to say. I'm just here to have fun, and I'm just someone who's made a lot of mistakes, and so I can just share the mistakes and people can be like, "Oh, okay, maybe." I found that the way you learn any skill is you mess up a lot and then you
Yeah.
find the way to do it right through learning through your mistakes and having fun with that. And so that's all I have to offer. no PhD in meditation or in any scientific field, just an armchair observer. But with that said, I was just like everybody else who approaches meditation, which is, it's a little daunting and it's a little scary to sit and meditate for the first time. It's one of those things where everyone knows it's good for you. And like, everyone knows that it's a good thing to do, but yet they don't want to, they don't want to actually get into it because they don't know where to start, very understandably.
Yeah.
And it's as broad a term as exercise, saying you meditate. If someone tells me they meditate, that could mean anything. Just like if someone says they exercise, they could be a
Yeah.
rock climber, a biker, a marathon runner, a weightlifter. I don't
Yeah.
know what that means, but it means they're potentially doing something that's positive for their mind. And
Yeah.
maybe not too. That's the other side. There's a dark side of meditation too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what brought me into meditation was frankly, the experience of the COVID pandemic was what heightened my interest in meditation and, being
Mm.
home alone with a lot of free time and also feeling uh, anxious and stressed and even depressed at that time. I'd been meditating for like 10 minutes a day for a few years, but it wasn't until the COVID pandemic that I felt the impetus to really understand what this meditation thing is all about. And, when I was doing those 10-minute meditations, I remember I would sit down. I knew this was a good thing. So I set aside 10 minutes a day. I would sit down, close my eyes, and I would practice with a guided app. At this time, it was the Waking Up app that Sam Harris had developed.
Mm.
It had just come out in 2018, and I started it right away. And what was so interesting is he would guide sort of like a traditional Vipassana style meditation, an insight meditation, let's say. So it's just becoming aware of what's going on, becoming aware of your breathing, and then recentering your attention every time you notice that you're distracted by a thought. And you just come back to the breath, come back to the body. And I would sit down to do this and I would open my eyes like 30 times during the 10 minutes and be like, and check my watch and say, is this over? Is this over? Is this over? I'm so sick of this. This is terrible. I don't like this. Feeling agitated. And, I would get up and I still think it had a positive impact, but it was pretty limited. And I also think that sometimes I just get stressed out from doing it because it just felt like a big struggle to just sit there and, perpetually get distracted and come back to the breath or the body. And I had so many things I was thinking about because I was so busy at that time starting my career.
Mm.
But fast forward to the COVID pandemic, I took some courses and I got a little bit more in depth into meditation and I tried many different techniques, almost like I think I was like basically it's like if you're morbidly obese and you're just trying to get into exercise and you don't know where to start.
Ah.
And so you try running and walking and biking and climbing and you got to find what works for you. And I think
Yeah.
ultimately that's the moral of the story is that you do have to find what works for your personality. But
Yeah.
with that said, I do think there's certain principles that apply to any practice you're going to engage in, any mental practice, let's say any meditation practice. Uh, there's certain key principles that I think would be very helpful across the board. And we can chat about some of those.
Mm.
But I ended up, doing more and more meditation. We were doing an hour a day, 2 hours a day. We did 3 hours a day sometimes. And then we ended up
Wow.
doing our first retreats. And it was really when you do a retreat, it's almost like you've been running a mile your whole life and then you run a marathon and you just
Yeah.
can't believe that you are able to do that. But more importantly, you can't believe that your body is capable or that your mind is capable of experiencing this level of a
Yeah.
certain state of mind. And I think that that was really like taking the red pill of just understanding, wow, it's possible to experience happiness independent of external circumstances or
Mm.
even, yeah, independent of external conditions. I think all of the happiness that I experienced prior to that was conditioned happiness, conditional happiness. So something
Yes.
would happen or I would obtain something, get something. But this was a happiness that was born from letting go, which was really interesting.
And it actually feels better because it's more sustainable, right?
It
Yeah.
is, yeah. And like you said, it's free and you can bring it with you anywhere, which is pretty remarkable. And
Yeah.
with that said, it's stronger at certain times than others. Like perhaps on a retreat, it gets very strong and then maybe it lasts for a long time. But it depends, just like exercise, on your ability to practice it and incorporate it into your life, integrate it into your life.
Yeah.
So, With that said, I think meditation is just one thing in a whole list of happiness buffet items, like you said. I think it's one really potentially powerful tool for people, and
Mm,
I'd love to chat with you about certain mistakes that we've made that
mm,
might be really helpful for others to hear and might make people
yeah,
feel better about getting into meditation. And then we can also chat about there's quite a few behaviors I think that are important in your life if you want to experience happiness or elevate your baseline level of
yeah,
happiness.
yeah. Which one? Let me ask you two questions first before we jump on to the mistakes and the behaviors. So, because I'm really thinking about the beginners, you mentioned something interesting. So you like open your eyes so many times, like 30 times during a 10-minute meditation, and you still did that every day.
Yeah.
What kept you going, Callan? I admire you so much.
Insanity. No, it was more of I've been one thing I have had was like a decent degree of discipline, and so I always thought,
Mm,
this is good for me. I don't like it, but it's almost like when you have to take your medicine, but you don't like the taste of it,
yeah,
you still do
yeah.
it anyways. And so that's how I felt meditation was for me for the first few years. There were
Wow.
enjoyable moments, but largely it was a lot of suffering and stress and a lot of having mini panic attacks while you're trying to sit still for 10 minutes.
Yeah. But did you reward yours? If there are any tools that you felt helped you to keep it consistent? Because that's, I think, is the biggest challenge for beginners to keep it consistent. Because you see the benefits, but you also are stressed over it. I'm very curious about that period of your life because I know even your stress that have all meditation have a cumulative effect. This lays a
Yeah.
good foundation, right? So yeah, is there anything that helped you to keep it consistent?
Hmm. Well, frankly, what helped me keep it consistent was that I was concerned that I would get too stressed out if I didn't do something. And so I had to do something,
Oh,
whether
I
I
see.
started to exercise and that was really helpful. And then I was like,
Mm,
I need more, there's something else I need in order to feel a little bit calmer and happier. And so I thought, even if this doesn't seem to be profound change, it's a little
yeah,
change. And
I
even with the
see.
opening your eyes 30 times, there's still some, there's still some benefit that you get from just sitting still and not being on your phone for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
But with
yeah,
that said, what I think I would have quit meditation eventually had I not discovered some of the key principles that we kind of found out about together through different
yeah,
teachers and different
yeah,
methods that we studied.
yeah,
So that's why it's so important to share some of those things. And we did start with the
yeah,
smile, which I think is the most important thing,
yeah.
actually, because to me, the essence of the happiness buffet is learning to take yourself and life less seriously and to have
Mm,
more fun with things.
mhm.
And so I was bringing a really serious mind to my 10-minute sits, and that's really what was causing
Oh.
all of the struggle.
I see, I see. Yeah, that's very helpful. That reminds me, I also had the point where because the pain's suffering is too much, so that it made me prioritize happiness over other things that keeps me going consistently just because I don't have a choice. I cannot take it anymore. So
Yeah.
here, I just want to pause. Since you mentioned it, it reminded me of that period that I almost forgot I had that phase. I want to remind the listeners that suffering or unhappiness is really not necessarily a bad thing, because that really is what gives you motivation to start unfolding this most magnificent, beautiful, exciting, peaceful, sustainable, however you want to call it, a journey. Without that, yeah, you maybe just be, oh, I'm fine. And you will never experience such a profound unconditional happiness because you are not motivated to do that, right? So that's really a good thing. And even in the Bible, I think I'm not religious, but I did a Bible study before for fun. It also says destruction has to happen first before salvation. So even in Buddhism, the transcendental dependent origination, also suffering is what leads to the whole liberation, the whole chain. There's like 24 of the whole chain if people are interested, but we'll leave it for another time. But I just want to emphasize suffering or unhappiness is really not a bad thing. I'm so grateful for those time period. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. And I think if you look back at your life, you'll see that the most challenging moments were the start of your search for
Yeah.
happiness. So
Yeah.
it really is something that doesn't feel good when you're going through it, but it's very beautiful that it can start you on the path. It can really get
Yeah.
you interested, and it makes you walk towards the happiness buffet and start
Yeah.
looking at the different food items on the menu.
Yes. That gives you the menu. Now you're qualified to have a menu. So funny. So now you want to talk about, I'll give you three options. The key principles, you already touched upon one of them, and also the mistakes and also the behaviors, the three things you mentioned. Which one you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
I think we should start with the behaviors because I think that
Okay.
you need to have a foundation, a steady foundation in order to experience happiness. So let's say your
Mm-hmm.
entry ticket to the happiness buffet is stress. And once you walk into the buffet, you have to start by grabbing a plate. And the plate in
Mm,
this case would be all the behaviors, I think. And so all
mm,
the other things, in my opinion, uh, are just like the cherry on top and the little sprinkles that you put on your like dessert ice cream or something.
mm-hmm.
I think some of these behaviors are so critical that no matter how much meditation or exercise, whatever you do, you will never experience happiness to the degree that's possible without doing some of these very simple things.
Mm,
And we'll
mm-hmm.
just keep it super simple. You can go as far as you'd like into these, but the way I see it is the most important thing for happiness above
Mm.
everything else is to get
The
a good night's
signature
sleep.
item on the menu.
The signature item on the menu is to
Yes.
get a good night's sleep. It is so important to get sleep. It is the absolute foundation for happiness. And when I say getting sleep, what I really mean is having some level to the degree you can of stability in your circadian rhythm. All of
Mm,
your organs in your body have circadian rhythm and they
yeah.
depend on knowing what time of day it is for them to function optimally. And
Yeah.
so for years, I didn't ever feel tired at night. And I didn't know why. I thought I had insomnia and I took different medications and I was just trying to figure out why don't I feel tired? I don't ever like I just am wired 24/7 and suddenly
Yeah.
I get tired at like 4 in the morning and then I gotta wake up a few hours later.
Yeah.
So I had found out for me, and this is very critical for me personally, I think maybe other people this might be helpful for is dimming light in the evening. I was looking at super bright light till the very last moment I went to bed. So it's very important to dim light in the evening and then receive morning sunlight, ideally from the
Yes.
sun,
Yes.
but at least from a
Mhm.
very bright light source, like brighter than most light bulbs in your house, like a
Yeah.
10,000 lux lamp or something. Getting that in the morning and dimming lights in the evening within a certain time frame. This is so important to being able to experience happiness.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. I know a lot of people who take medications and for depression, and yet their sleep is just all over the place. So I think you got to start with the sleep. We'll
Yeah.
keep it really simple. Start with improving your sleep however you can. And really, I think the best way is morning sunlight and evening darkness.
Yeah.
That's number one. And all the longevity experts, if you really want to get into living an optimal life and living, maintaining your youth into old age, they all say the same thing. The
Yeah.
Atias, the Hubermans, the Johnsons of the world, they all say the big thing is sleep.
Yeah.
So I think that's the absolute foundation. And then the second thing is
Sorry, can I
exercise.
add one quick thing to sleep? It's
Of
just,
course.
for listeners who don't know about this, food really plays a big role in your body clock. Because especially because I do fasting sometimes too. The first time I did the fasting, when you take food out of the equation, my whole sleep was completely messed up. I usually sleep really well, but the food gives you the anchor of when to go to bed and blah blah blah. So just pay attention to your food. I'm sure you can, for listeners, you can find the information online. Maybe like not eat so late before you go to bed. Such a simple thing. I know sleep is easier said than done, but there's some simple things that can make a big difference. So food is one, and also playing with the phone. However, you can find a way to not just play your phone Or, my husband and I like to watch anime, but I would never watch Attack on Titan before I go to bed. I just need something more calm, not something so bloody and so tense before I go to bed, right? So anyway, let's move on to the exercise.
I mean, we could do a whole episode just on sleep. It's that important.
Yeah,
And there's so many little nuances you can do. There's sleep hygiene tools that you can do to really improve your sleep. And
yeah,
once you experience what's possible when you get a really good night's rest from getting your circadian rhythm set, you just can't ever go back. It's tough.
yeah.
But I'll also say that an important prerequisite for all of these things is it's so easy to get too neurotic about, being perfect in your sleep or being perfect in your exercise regimen or whatever it might be. So I think it's important to, you can have goals and intentions to have good sleep and try your best, but don't be hard on yourself if you can't be perfect. That's not what this is about.
Yeah,
It's more
have
just about knowing
fun.
what's possible. Have fun.
Yeah. Have fun, have the light-hearted and smile into it, laugh with yourself. The key principle now goes hand in hand with this.
It
Yeah.
absolutely does. And I'm someone who, the seriousness is caught into my whole like, oh, I got to sleep at this time every night or else something bad's
Yeah.
going to happen. So I'm
Yeah.
learning to have more fun with all these things.
Mhm.
And then, the next two things, I think it's a little bit less clear how you want to go about this, but I think it's very important to have some form of movement every day, whether that's
Yeah.
walking, biking, the gym, yoga, whatever it is for you that feels good. But it can be as simple
I'm
as
gonna
just walking.
stand. I'm going
Yeah.
making my standing desk go up now. Keep going.
Even standing is really, really powerful. Standing, I've had a standing desk for like 5 years and I just started to use it recently. I've been sitting at my standing desk for 5 years. But even just standing is very helpful. And you can even get like these little walking pad treadmills underneath your standing desk.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, just getting some form of movement every day. I noticed that I personally can't experience a high degree of peace and happiness unless I have some movement. And just
Yeah.
like I said before, you have to be lighthearted about these things. It's not about perfection, but if you can move your body every day in some way, super important. So those are the first two things on the happiness buffet. And the
Yeah.
last one, the last thing behavior wise is just to have a good diet. And this is tough because there's no correct answer, in my view, of what a good diet is for everyone. You really have to experiment
Yes.
and find what works for you. But maybe there's some principles that would apply across the board. But I would just say to look at your diet and see how you feel after you eat. And, perhaps apply some intuition into your eating as well. That's been helpful for me
Yeah.
as well. But we'll leave diet up to everyone else. People can figure out what works best for them. But sleep, diet, and exercise are the foundation. Then all the other stuff is just fun on top of that.
Yeah. And that brings the another key principle, which is don't take our words for it. Try it for yourself. You have to
Exactly.
see it for yourself. All the things we talk about, like diet. That's why we leave diet open. It's just a whole rabbit hole. But I do want to share my story about exercise because we have so much. Like society concepts about what are good exercises, but sometimes it may just not be fun for me, right? So for me, through meditation, I just have this so much confidence that I always trust my gut. So I love rock climbing. I do that with my husband, but I never progress much because I just never felt I want to be that good at climbing. I don't see any practical benefits of having very strong fingers. So I don't like the small holds. I specialize in jogs, which are the easiest holds to hold on to. But I do that for fun with my husband, and but that doesn't give me that much exercise because I don't do very hard routes. And recently, I started like hip hop, and jazz dancing. Oh my God, that's like the only exercise can make me try really hard. So that's why I feel people can really experiment with different things. It doesn't have to be everybody. The plank is such a great exercise. It really it depends on your own preferences to see. Also, practical schedule wise, that's also another factor you need to consider, right? Whether your schedule allows it or not. So anyway, so that's another principle to see it for yourself and trust your guts. Don't force yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say a key principle for all this stuff is exactly what you said, which is trust your own instincts, try things on and see what works for you. And then most importantly, have fun with all these different things. You see so many people who they haven't been exercising for a long time and they get into something really intense. Like maybe all of a sudden they have a New
Mm.
Year's resolution that
Oh,
they'll run 30 minutes a day. And they
yeah.
look so upset when they're running. They're just like, it's like they're not happy doing it at all. It's like this terrible thing that they know they got to do because they want to lose weight. And I don't, if that works for you, you should do that. But I think the best thing is to just have fun with it because if it becomes this
Yeah.
stressful thing, it's going to be not so sustainable for you.
Yeah. Now I'm having so much fun in dancing. It just is so nice to finally find the exercise I can try
Yeah,
really hard because I'm too chill to try hard, you know?
totally. I think dancing and sports are super underrated for adults too, because as we get older, we tend to exercise doing our own thing a lot of the time, but it's really fun. I think, if I was to put a fourth thing on the list, and then there's many distant things in terms of behavior, but a fourth thing that's super important to the degree you can foster this is finding wholesome social connection in your life. Whether
Yeah.
it's meeting with family or friends on a somewhat regular basis and having fun with them, it's really important. There's a lot of
Yeah.
research now that comes out about that in order to achieve peak happiness, it's we're social creatures, we're pro-social
Yeah.
creatures. So having
Yeah.
community, having friendship and really fostering that and even, exercising with friends, having
Yeah.
fun with friends, like I think this is really critical. These are the critical foundations and behaviors. And then,
Yeah.
down the road, there's many distant things that you can try on. Like there's contrast therapy, there's hot and cold plunge, there's eliminating certain chemicals from your environment and
Mhm.
toxins from your environment. These are all important, but perhaps distant on these. I would put the top four as being the sleep, exercise, diet, and then social connection. I see those as like
Yeah.
the pillars.
Yeah, that's very good point. For I just realized for adults, it's very hard to have social connection because you're just like going to work and stuff. I realize all my friends I make are through like I go to an event or I go to yoga or dance classes, right? So that opens up the doors for like amazing friendships because those if you go to the place in person, the people are also live close by. So it makes a big difference although we have like as much as we love each other, we are not seeing each other in person, right? And that's different than my friends who I can go hiking with, right? So that's yeah, I highly encourage. And then while you are going to the event, you get the sunlight, you know,
Yeah, I think
bonus
it's great.
point.
It's great to mix and match these things.
Yes,
Even
exactly.
meeting, even it's really profound, but even this, connecting over Zoom thousands of miles away is also another form of social connection that totally counts. But I
Yeah,
think if you have friends in person, it's always fun to do things outside. And I think a key this is a side pillar or side quest is just getting as much time outside as you possibly can.
yeah,
I find as much screen time as you can eliminate, such will correlate with your mental well-being oftentimes. So
totally.
the
Yeah,
more you can minimize time on screen, there's many reasons for this. And one reason being that when we're on screens, we're often slightly tapping at our dopamine constantly in varying
yeah,
degrees. And so you're tapping the system and it's just wearing out a little bit. When you're outside, you get a lot of sunlight, which is important for tonic dopamine levels, baseline dopamine levels. But two, you're more aware of what's going on in your surroundings and in the present moment, and you're less
yeah.
just stuck up here inside of a screen. So try it out, give it a shot. I think it's wonderful. I notice that my happiness improves a lot when I'm outside more.
Same. Yeah. By the way, for the listeners, if you want an excuse to unplug from your phone and not replying to emails, if you go to meditation retreat, they actually take your phone with you. Then you can have automatic reply in your email that said, "I'm sorry, my phone are taken away. I don't have my laptop. I cannot reply." So if you want an excuse, meditation retreat is a good place to go. And I just made a video about the meditation retreats. If people want to check it out, I think I'll drop a link somewhere. Yeah.
My favorite story about you, Ishui, is that you got to a meditation retreat because you were looking to go somewhere where they would take your phone from you.
I know. I didn't know they only take your phone. So I was like, I handed over my phone, my laptop, and the tablet. And David was like, what? Why are you giving us all of this? I said, can you please just take it? That was the first time they actually took everything from me. I don't want them in my cabin. Then I learned the norm. You only need to hand your phone. It's just so funny. But they will take it if you hand over other things. So don't worry if you're like me. Yeah.
It's an interesting experiment. The first time I went on a meditation retreat when they took my phone, that alone was such a shock to the system because I realized how, maybe I was oftentimes, I think many people do this. I was spending 6 to 8 hours a day on my phone. And when that's gone, it's like you're missing a drug and it's like, you feel a withdrawal. It's very
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. And on top of that, you cannot even talk. Like there's really no output at all, right? No input, no output. You are just alone with your thoughts and have fun with that. But then you learn that if you learn to be okay with your thoughts, in that case, that's like an advanced training ground, then the daily stress are much easier to handle, right? So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we'll have to do a whole talk on meditation retreats at some point and what that can do.
yeah,
It's so powerful and so interesting, and I understand that it's not very accessible to many people, but that is a profound shift in just
yeah,
experiencing what the mind's capable of.
yeah. We'll schedule another call for that. Then that's now we are having a seasonal menu. Our menu changes from our happy chef Callan, and
I mean,
also
there's so many.
mistakes.
Yes,
Sorry, go
yes. I think,
ahead.
yeah, we can talk about mistakes now, actually. I mean,
Mm,
we could talk. I'm curious if you'd like to talk about mistakes or if you'd like to talk about different practices, because there's just a laundry list of different practices in the happiness buffet that people can try
mm,
on for themselves and see what works. And
I
then in terms of
see.
meditation, there's so many mistakes that we'd love to share because
Yeah.
there's so many things. It's almost like here's what I wish someone told me when I started meditating
Right.
years ago.
Yeah. Okay, I just consulted my intuition and let's do the practice because mistake I think can be a very long episode. I also have
Yeah.
many dishes on mistakes. How about you give us one mistake, then you talk about the practices.
The biggest mistake that I made in meditation, it just goes back to what we were sharing at the beginning, which is you
Mm,
take it too seriously. That's
yeah.
what it is. You're coming to it too seriously. And that's what makes it so hard because you set expectations for yourself. You have an idea of how calm you'd like to be or where you'd like to get.
Right.
Or my favorite thing that people say is, "Oh, just come and sit down and turn off your thoughts. Just stop thinking." That's the best one because of
You
course if it
think
was that
that
easy, no one had to.
easy.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to say. I wish it was that easy. No one would have to
Yeah.
meditate. It'd be so fun. We just had a
Yeah.
button we could press. But
Yeah.
I think just relaxing and smiling, that's the counter to the taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
That's the mistake of the day. Don't take it too seriously. Have fun.
Yes. Yes. So now you want to talk about the different practices because when you shared your story, you went from 10 minutes opening eyes for 30 times to you can do 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. There must be something in between. Like how was that like and what different practices you do? Or you can share the daily practices too that helped you in not
Yeah.
just a meditation sitting.
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I think that when I look back, I tried many different types of meditation, and that was very helpful to just understand what are the different ways of practicing. There's so many different styles and opinions on how you should practice meditation.
Yeah.
And some, for me, worked better than others. And I think some principles you could apply to all the different styles, and they might be helpful with whatever style you're doing. I think for me, and I know your experience was similar, that it really there's quite a few variables that are important. I think one, it's the attitude and the understanding that you bring to the practice. And two, it's little tools that you take with you as a toolkit in your journey of meditation that are very important. And a few, I mean, we can get into those, but a few, one is smiling, one is relaxing, one is using a wholesome state of mind as an object of meditation.
Yeah.
So anchoring your attention on your smile or on the product of your smile, that feeling is very effective. And you can take that throughout your day. Whereas, let's say, if you're doing body scanning or breath meditation, it's a little bit more difficult to stay with that as an object throughout the day. And by doing that, by staying with your smile, you're kind of cultivating this mindfulness and this awareness, and it becomes stronger and stronger over time. And that is how you become tranquil enough to sit
Yeah.
for longer and longer periods of time.
Like, did you find in different situations, different things work for you? I'm like particularly before you did that sampling of different practices.
Well, you know what it was is I think I tried different practices, and there's all different types of instructions.
Yeah.
Some of the practices I did were involved just becoming aware of your nose tip and the feeling
Mm,
of the breath moving through and out, in and out of that, or becoming aware of your chest moving up and down from breathing, using using something as an anchor to center your attention. Because this
mm,
whole idea is that we're basically all over the place. There's thoughts capturing our attention and pulling us in every direction.
yeah.
And so we want to just relax and collect our attention around an object of meditation. And so in the journey of meditation, I tried many different objects,
Yeah.
the nose tip, the chest, the
Mm,
breath in different ways, scanning, actually just spending a whole period of time feeling the body up and down, going up and down
mm,
for a half hour, an hour, doing that. And there's also mantra meditation, which is when you use
mm.
a phrase and you become very collected around repetition of a phrase. There is such a long laundry list of practices, and one has to find what works best for them. But maybe what would be fun to discuss would be some of the key principles that you can bring with you to
Yeah.
meditation, no matter
Yeah.
which technique that you land on.
Yeah. Because the list is endless. I'm already disenchanted hearing this. Right?
Yeah.
Like it never ends. Like, but sometimes our tendency is to always seeking something, right? And the list is there and it's endless. You can always find something new to try. But if you find something that works and using the key principles, you can already make a breakthrough. You already have it in you, and you are your best teacher. Yeah, let's share some like key principles, Callan.
Yeah, so I think some of the key principles are things that we've already discussed, but let's tie them all together. And I think the first one is to let go of taking things too seriously. So
Yeah.
that often can involve a smile. And concurrent with that smile is to learn how to relax. And it's an activity to relax. It's not just a thought. It's not let's say, people who say, oh, just relax. And what does that mean to you? But in this case, what I'm saying is every time that you get distracted constantly throughout the day, you'll notice that there's a little tension somewhere in the body. Typically,
Yeah.
it's in the head. You can literally feel this is a felt sensation of tension every time you get distracted. And oftentimes, when someone has a headache from thinking too much,
Yes.
it's from being all over the place, from having your attention so scattered. That's what the headache is. Your brain is tensing up, and you can actually become aware of this as a felt sensation. It's really remarkable. I was practicing meditation for a long time, and for an hour, we would sit and we would go from one thing to another. And I remember I'd come up from the meditation, I'd have a headache from just noticing. I'd get distracted and I'd come back to the breath. But the key is to notice when you're distracted. It's okay, because that's just a process of the mind, right? That's just the mind doing its thing. It's not something we need to force and snap back to the
Yeah.
breath or whatever it might be. It's just a mind is a thinking machine, and it's okay for it to do that. But
Yeah.
what we want to do is just observe that process and relax,
Yeah.
physically relax. And this is the tranquility that will allow you to sit for longer and longer periods of time.
Yeah.
And you'll also gain some insight into how your mind works, which is really interesting. This is in Buddhism what they call the process of dependent origination. But really,
Yeah.
what it is just a very fascinating phenomenological process that you can observe of how your mind works. You are studying it from the view within. You're actually watching it. It's an objective process. It's
Yeah.
an objective process occurring from your subjective experience.
We should talk about dependent origination in regular terms at some point too. It's such
I
a
think so.
wow, concept.
It's
Yeah.
so profound and so little understood. And I certainly didn't understand it for a long time. And I go to lots of scholarly readings of dependent origination. I've gone
That
to
it
like
gives me a
Theravada
headache.
Buddhist school. It gives you a headache and you're like, what are they talking about? I have no idea what they mean. But
Yeah.
there's actually a very practical implication of it, which is
Yeah. We
just
can use
really
examples.
totally. I think it's really cool. And one day we can even correlate this to some of the modern neuroscientific research
Yes.
being done on like the predictive processing theory of mind, for instance. Or
Yeah.
in other words, this is all a study of how your mind works and just becoming aware of it.
Yeah. So another thing I want to emphasize again is the principles about a wholesome mind. So that might sound too vague for people. Can you give more examples, like daily examples of what do you mean by that principle?
Yeah, that's a great question because it could mean anything, right? Like, what does
Yeah,
wholesome mind mean to someone? I think one great example of a wholesome mind is when you laugh at something. In that moment,
that's
you have a
our
wholesome
theme
mind.
of today's buffet.
It definitely
Yeah,
is. And it makes sense, right? Because we all think
yeah,
happiness equals smiling and laughing. And it's true. I think there's different definitions for a wholesome mind, but I would say a wholesome mind is one in which there is well let's simplify it even further because you could use so many definitions. One definition of a wholesome mind is one in which you're not identifying with what's occurring, but you're just observing. That's one
yeah,
definition. But I think a more fun definition is just a mind where you're relaxed and
yeah,
experiencing a happy feeling.
yeah. So
And that can be any happy feeling.
yeah, great minds think alike. I asked that question. I also thought about the same thing, exactly like what you talked about. And I really like to simplify things because here I want to drop a bonus point. Here's my secret to sit longer. Once you cultivated a wholesome mind, that's a relaxing and unbothered mind. So when you sit there, because you're so peaceful and unbothered, even your brain is running of all the thoughts, it just automatically does not bother you. Then it's kind of like it just does not snowball, right? So usually why we are so unhappy with the thoughts when we meditate, we beat ourselves up is because we are bothered by the thoughts. But if our thoughts are happy thoughts, wholesome thoughts, and we see why they occur, we know the conditions that made them occur. That has nothing to do with me. I'm just observing. Then, of course, I'm unbothered. Then I can sit for hours, and people may think I'm actually thinking nothing, but there are stuff going on. But I'm just not bothered by them. So it's very interesting when you can detach from the thought. That's the secret to sit longer by
Absolutely.
cultivating and prepping in advance when you are not sitting, so that you can
Yeah.
always have rewire your brain to have this, clarity and wholesome thoughts. That's fine, just there. Happy to be with
I
them.
I think one of the things people think about when they see advanced meditators or someone who sits for a long time, unbothered, they think
Yeah,
that, wow, they just must have such a peaceful mind. And maybe that's true, but not
yeah,
always. And sometimes what it or often really what it is just how bothered they are by the process of thinking or not. How much, in other words,
exactly.
they're taking it personally and
Yeah,
saying, these are my thoughts. This is my thinking.
yes,
I'm in charge of this and I want it to stop. And you can't get it to stop because what
yes,
you notice from meditation is that, you actually don't call the thoughts up. They just happen on their own. And so the
Yeah.
more you're okay with that and the more you observe it and have fun with it, the more fun it is to just sit and meditate because it's not even you.
Yeah.
It's just something, it's a movie you're watching. It,
And it's
and
a
you can
fun,
just,
it's a personalized movie.
it's a personalized movie. And so I think there's two elements to this, which is letting go of your attachment to that process, just observing it, watching it. It's okay for it to be there. It's okay for your mind to think. That's what it does. It's just doing its job. That's actually good.
Yeah.
It's good that you have
Yeah.
thoughts
Yeah.
and just becoming okay with it. And then, in the future, other things you can do are some of these other techniques to then over time shift the content of your thinking.
Yeah.
So you'll have more positive thinking
Yeah.
and you won't care anyways because it's not you anyways.
Yes, exactly. Even negative thinking is also fine, right? It's so interesting. I really love this point because I feel we should do another episode on the myth to demystify all these things because we think people are so advanced and they're just turned off thinking nothing, so tranquil and everything, right? But it really depends on the conditions because one of my misconception before is I thought how advanced, quote unquote, I am is by how much less I'm thinking, which is actually not the case because it's totally dependent on the conditions. If I'm traveling, of course, I have to make plans, and even picking a food from the menu, I'm a lot slower than when I'm not traveling, right? I could beat myself up by thinking, oh, I meditated for so long. Now I lost my clarity, like I'm going backwards. But no, it's just because I'm traveling. So it's just all part of a natural process. That's why I do not compare any of your sittings because the conditions are different. There's no comparison to be made that's valid at all. Right. So that's
That's right.
another myth we should demystify because I used to judge myself just by in this sitting, what's the percentage of the time that I'm not thinking. But that is not a good measurement to see,
No.
how deep I am. But eventually, I'm really just unbothered. You put it so nicely. Is how much you are not identifying with it. It's just a
Yeah.
natural process, and it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I really think the key distinction isn't necessarily how active your mind is, it's how okay with it you are.
Yes,
If you're
yeah.
fully at peace and accepting of that, you'll actually have a good time no matter how crazy your mind is or no matter how quiet it is too.
Yes, yes. Which, by the way, this is why we meditate because it's a safe playground. You train your mind without any physical, like a pain or hurting, right? But then you off the cushion because you are unbothered by all those thoughts. You are already trained on the cushion. So in your daily life, it's also a meditation. Then you are unbothered with work stress or deadline, blah, blah, blah. So that's it all goes hand in hand. Also, you can meditate off the cushion to make your on the cushion meditation better and the other way around. It's all the, part of the process.
Meditation is just life. And as one of my friends said, we are always meditating on something,
Yeah.
it's just
Whether you know
that
it or
that's
not.
whether you know it or not. Exactly. And that's what's so interesting.
Yeah. Beautiful. So speaking of our topic, I need to go soon to go to the gym with my friends. I don't want to keep them waiting. So that's why another good thing is accountability is good if you want to exercise, especially when you
Yeah.
start having a friends group who my friend's apartment has a free gym. I just go and if we work out together, I'm more likely to stick to it. Because right now I'm more motivated to just go dance. I don't really want to lift weights, but I have a personal trainer and this friend group to do it once a week, which helps. So
It's so important. I feel grateful. You always remind me about the beauty of meditation and about the happiness buffet. And that's what inspires me to
yes,
practice, having others
yeah,
around me that are interested in this stuff.
yes. So let's wrap up. Any dessert to offer or the key takeaways?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway from today, right, is just to have fun and to relax.
Yes, yes, and
Find
a
ways you can do that
smile.
in your life. Smile,
Yeah.
smile, have fun, and relax. You actually have 90% of the ingredients just in that.
Yeah.
You have the
And
whole buffet. It's just in that. Everything
you
else is a
already
refinement
have
of those
it.
things.
Yes, exactly. Cool. All right. Thank you so much, Callan. The first Happy Chef Callan. Very special milestone. I'm so happy I invited you on, and this is such a great episode. We'll have more fun together. I'm pretty
Thanks
sure
so
we already
much.
have maybe 2 or 3 more episodes planned
I
just
feel
during
very
this
grateful.
call,
I'm
right?
excited to see what we cook up next time.
Yes. All right. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. We'll have more buffet for you, but don't overeat and only pick your favorite dishes. Let us know if you have any bonus points that you got from all the exercise and mini games we mentioned. All right. See you guys next time.
Thank you.
As always, don't forget you're your best teacher. Don't take my words for it, but try it for yourself and let me know how it goes. Have fun with it. See you next time. Bye.